What is up, y'all? Look, I wanted to jump on here and go live and say that, well, first of all, welcome this guy to the KBF headquarters. We've got some exciting stuff planned this year. Gene stopped by Indy and did a bit of time at the booth there at the Indy Sports Boat and Travel Show, and then he headed up to Wisconsin and did the Wisconsin Outdoor Expo, the fishing show up there, and drove into blizzard conditions. And so I keep getting a lot of questions. You might have to take your feet off there. That's going to shake every time you left. Sorry. So we're just chilling here at the KBF headquarters. Gene stopped back by on his way down south and heading back over to Rome, Georgia. And I keep getting a lot of questions, and we got a lot of questions about this at the show. So what's the story with the fight? Well, the story with the fight is I had a little bit of a heart condition, and I am not cleared to do anything until my doctor clears me.
And I don't want to kill him.
And so before you get a license to do a sanctioned boxing match, even if it's for charity, you have to pass a physical. And so I can't pass a physical until we get past this clearance thing with my doctor. So what we're going to do is we're going to postpone the entire thing until we get a date of when I'm released. And then we're going to start back and we're going to start the training videos. We're going to actually do a couple of sparring sessions where we joke around. And I threw this out there, and a lot of people like the idea. I think we should make it a fish fight deal where we do you pick a body of water and we fish there, heads up. I pick a body of water, we fish there, heads up, and then we basically do the fight, and that's the best 2 out of 3 kind of a thing. That way there's fishing involved. And so anyway.
And not just kicking your butt.
And not just getting him knocked out by a former heart attack patient who is now GIMP and still got big old cinder blocks on the end of his arm. Anyway, here we go. So listen, we're going to answer some questions, and then we're going to do some other updates. But let's jump on here real quick and answer a couple questions. Just got my membership, Colin Gene, and what's up, Chad and Gene? Anybody got any questions? Y'all ask a question or two, and we'll answer those real quick, and then we'll keep going. So anyway, let's talk about some updates until we see a couple of questions pop up. So we are going to put together a get-together, like camp out, get-together, fishing trip, whatever you want to call it. It's mostly kind of a makeup for the Party in the Pines thing that Gene was promoting that didn't happen. And for the folks out there that committed to doing that and that are still working through that system of getting reimbursed.
What happened was I promoted it as you guys buy tickets to Party in the Pines and you get a fishing trip with me to Bienville. So Bienville's not following through with their end of the bargain. So Chad and I are going to make our end of the bargain.
Yeah, and keep in mind when Bienville does an event that big, Bienville Entertainment is the part that does that, and then Bienville Plantation,
2 separate things.
Is another part of the deal. And I understand to a lot of people, you're like, that's the same thing. And so they're working through the legal part of getting that taken care of. But we're going to preemptively put something together that we should be able to announce in the next month to where we take care of the folks that bought in and do a little get together, seminar, behind the scenes, meet and greet, eat, fish, get together kind of thing. So anyway.
Yeah, we're basically just going to
somebody said,
to make it more than
is there a spot on the fight site to find out my state for anything related? Go to the website, click on events at the top, click on calendar. That takes you to all the events. Now, you're going to see a dot on damn near every page because we have an event on dang near every page. And Gene's already brought that up, and several other people have brought that up. So what we're doing is we're going to make some cheat sheets and some cheat links. If you go to the events and you click on trail, there's a cheat sheet for all the trail. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a button that takes you to the trail. There's a button that takes you to the challenge series, and there's a button that takes you to the national championship qualifying event. So the easiest thing to do is scroll to the bottom of the main page. But the other easy thing to do is to click on the events tab and then click on the individual series, and it takes you to a page about those series.
What's up, Jimmy?
Jeff said, what are the different ways to qualify for the KBF National Championship? All right, so the easiest way to qualify, or the easiest access way to qualify, is through the state challenge series. Not necessarily easy because you got to finish in the top 2 of that state to automatically qualified, but the online challenge series is the easiest way to qualify. We're looking at a formula for expanding that format to let more people qualify that way, but the state challenge series, the online challenge series, the monthly challenge series is probably the first line of defense. The second way to qualify is to go to the KBF partner page and join your local partner group. Any KBF partner group has a qualifying series where if you're a member of KBF and you're a member of their group, they have qualification opportunities. And in my opinion, that's the best way to qualify because for one, you're fishing against other anglers. Two, you're developing that camaraderie and that competitive, drive to fish on a certain body of water at a certain time against other anglers. And you're getting to learn to improve, to grow, and you're getting to test yourself out in a competitive format. So through the partner series groups is probably the best way to qualify, in my opinion, and definitely not the easiest way because there are some sticks out there fishing in the KBF tournament series. The next tier or step, if you want to call it that, is through the KBF Trail Series. If you go to the Kayak Bass Fishing homepage, click on events, click on 2019 KBF Trail Series, you see a lot of trails there, and it is the top 5 or 10%, whichever's higher, qualify. And so, for example, we just had 122 on Sandy Cooper, and we had 147 on Berryessa, and those qualifications roll over. And so there was 14 or 15 that qualified through Berryessa and 12 that qualified through the Santee Cooper event. In addition to that, we have special events, open series stuff that we've done in the past. We've got a couple things we're working on right now. We're going to do a last chance qualifier this year at the end of the year that we haven't been able to announce yet. So really, the challenge series through your partner organization and through the KBF Trail are your primary ways to qualify. Will either of you be at any of the Texas Trail events this year? I'm going to make it to at least one event in Texas. I see 2 comments for events in Iowa. You know who else is in Iowa? Smiley face. Mr. Knichel Josh from DZ is in Iowa, but I don't think he's going to man up and fish the series. I think he's just going to lurk in the comments and do that. So, Josh, if you think you got what it takes to get out there against some of these other Iowa folks and duke it out, then I suggest that you join.
Iowa doesn't even have any trees.
Sean Dindy said, "Hey, Gene, do you or have you done a video on buying and setting up your first boat, not just limited to bass boats? Maybe include a John boat or something like to choose." You know what? We get so many questions about John boats in the kayak fishing market. Why should you do a kayak versus a John boat? I think what we need to do is I need to come over to your house. We need to lay the kayak out.
Yeah.
We need to lay your boat out. And then we need to do the tiers. Like you got your kayak, you got your John boat, and you got your deal. So we'll invite somebody that's got a John boat over to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of a John boat, the advantages and disadvantages of a kayak, and then the advantages and disadvantages of a bass boat. I think that'd be a good video, and I think that's a great suggestion.
Yep.
So Sean Dindy, when we make that video, remind us that it was your idea, and we'll go from there. Will either of you – wait, hey, guys, have you seen the new Lightning Strike kayak that has been endorsed by Robert Field? Yes, I've seen it. Haven't had a chance to try it out yet. I do want to get up with Robert and give that boat a shot because I always like to be able to actually give real advice on the questions that people ask. So DIY Bassin said he has a stick steer to use. We could try that out.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about, do we make our own Tokyo rigs? You know what's funny is I've been doing a Tokyo rig type thing with heavy braid for a long time. I double it through and then tie a dropper. So it's not truly a Tokyo rig.
Kind of a short drop.
Yeah, I called it the Chad shot for a long time because I felt like I was the only one doing it.
And you like to name everything after.
And then I like to name everything after myself just because it's the easiest way to explain it and that I didn't find it somewhere else, just like the Chad rig with my baits on the bottom. And so anyway, you've done more with the Tokyo rig than I have. I actually like to do the punch shot rig a different way. I like to do it with the drop shot at the bottom and the weight sits up off of that and a weedless setup. So talk about the Tokyo rig. There's a lot of people asking about that.
I really honestly think it's better to make it yourself. I'm going to actually, when I get home this afternoon, I'm going to head over to Hobby Lobby and pick up some stainless steel wire, and I'm going to start making my own because I want mine 6 inches long and not 4 inches long. So either or, I mean, it's still going to work out. Just make sure you get the right gauge wire when you take it in. And use some heavy duty swivels and split shots. Spro makes probably the best split shots and heavy duty swivels out there. So, and that's not an endorsement, and I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just saying that's the.
It's just the fact. They make really good swivels. Sampo makes some good swivels, but Spro does make really good split rings, and they do make great. I like their oval ones.
Yeah, they're oval.
They also make really good, and those oval ones are really good for anything punching too because they're not covering as much surface area, so they come in and out of grass a lot better.
Yeah. So
that's a good question. Somebody asked about any podcasting plans. I'm not sure if they're asking me or Gene, but here's what we did. We got Richard Penny from Kayak Bass Fishing has launched the Kayak Bass Fishing podcast. Richard is managing that part of it. I mean, I'm just busier than a one-legged man in a hopscotch contest, so I don't have time to do everything. I've got a podcast set up in here. I'm going to start doing some contributory podcasts. My podcast is not going to be the Kayak Bass Fishing podcast because it's going to be sporadic. I'm calling mine Chatterbait.
Yeah, and Richard's
like
podcast,
Chad,
they're great.
Or with the R bait.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job.
Follow Richard Penny. On Instagram, it's at the Kayak Bass Fishing Podcast. You can search on any of your podcast services, Kayak Bass Fishing Podcast, and you'll find it on there. But that's the name of it, Kayak Bass Fishing Podcast. Redfish Championship Series location still not coming yet. We've got probably a week and a half until we're able to announce that. People keep asking me. I don't know what people think that I keep secrets. I don't keep secrets. Once I know something, I put it out there.
Yeah, he can't shut up.
We're coming pretty dang close to being able to announce the Pro Series Championship location, the Redfish Championship location, and that big thing that I keep talking about not being able to talk about. Gene was actually at the house today when I made the final phone call to set the final places in motion. The contract will be signed this week. The announcement will get made as soon as we can possibly vet all of the I's dotted and T's crossed. So trust me when I tell you, nobody wants to make this announcement more than me. I'm stoked. I'm excited. And yeah. So anyway,
it's awesome.
Chad, are you going to make the trail event on Lake George? I am trying. I've got about 7 trail events that I want to make this year. I'm trying to make one in each region. And that Lake George one is on my list. It's on my bucket list. We're also, we aren't going to be there, but Fish USA is opening up their kayak fishing outpost. So if you're anywhere in the vicinity of Erie, Pennsylvania, or if you want to make a road trip, there's going to be some cool giveaways. I'm going to do some, some one-on-one stuff there at the event in this new kayak fishing outpost. Gene's going to be fishing because he already had a commitment, right? Fishing. Yeah, he's already got a filming conflict. So this weekend, I will be at the Erie Boat and Sports Fishing Show, the Erie Fishing Show. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday. I'll probably be there late Friday. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, and then I'll be at Fish USA most of the week filming some promo pieces, segments, tips, tactics, techniques. I'm expanding my species horizons this year, and that's one of the great things about my partnership, or actually our partnership with Fish USA, is those guys have got some super high-end expertise when it comes to the species we don't always fish for, the Great Lakes species, your salmon, your trout, your walleye, your friggin' steelhead, all that, muskie, and so I'm going to be hooking up with some of the Fish USA pros this year because they've got a remarkable pro staff, and getting those guys to kind of, lead me by the nose through chasing some of those other species to kind of shake things up a bit. What else do we need to talk about? We're going to be doing a lot more collabs this year. A lot of people, every time we do a collab, it's like, dude, y'all should do more together. And so I had a crazy schedule last year. Gene's schedule was, balls to the wall after making the move to Georgia, and now things have settled in a bit. We've got the KBF headquarters set up now and almost done. I'm going to do a full walkthrough of that here pretty soon. Gene's probably going to shoot some social media stuff while he's here because this is it's your first time here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited about this. We're going to do some videos where he comes over and stays at the house for a couple of days, and we just bang out content from subscriber questions, both from his channel and from my channel, and just do a lot of crossover promotion. We're going to try to drag Alex Rudd over here. We're going to try to drag who's some of the other knuckleheads we're getting in here this season.
We'll get probably
what's
Noah,
that? What's that little swolt dude from Georgia?
Yeah,
Noah Pescatello.
Swolt.
Little joker. Anyway, and the only reason he looks swolt is he's so little. I bet he still can't curl about 30 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Just being honest with you. I'm just being honest with y'all. And one of the great things about him is you can hand him a bass and it looks giant.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's part of why we're trying to lose some weight so we can make fish look bigger. Speaking of the losing the weight, I'm back to, the food in Indy, especially at this place called the Northside Social.
I gained 2 pounds.
We're Dean Sample, one of the subscribers here and one of our fans' friends, invited us to go. And then, of course, Gene came into town, so I had to go back there. It was just that good. And, so I gained about 7 pounds during that week up in Indy. And I had the flu, so I felt sorry for myself, so I allowed myself to kind of break the diet a little bit. Back on track today, right back on track, hitting the gym later this week. I still have lifting restrictions, but I'm going to get back to it. All right, so here we go. All right, bait casting, rod, and reel for beginners. I'm a big fan on both sides of a 7-foot, medium heavy, and a casting rod. I like a 6.5 to 1 gear ratio. 6.2 to 1 is that intermediate. Like if you're going to say all around, I think that 6'2", 6'5" to 1, depending on what manufacturer you're going with. Is probably your best. You can reel it fast to fish the bait a little faster. You can reel it slow to fish it a little slower. When you have your high end gear ratios, you lose some low end torque. When you have your low gear ratios, you lose the high end speed. So that 6'5", 6'2" to 1 is the best. And then for me, I like a 1,500 to 2,000 size, or 150, 200, depending on the manufacturer. I'm a lose guy, so it's 1,500, 2,000. And I like a 7-foot. Now, when I go to a spinning rod, I like a little bit lighter power. A lot of people use the word power and action. Like they say lighter action. There really isn't a such thing as a light action. There's a moderate slow, moderate, moderate fast, extra fast. And so, in my opinion, when I go to a spinning rod, I'm more of a medium instead of a medium heavy. And then I'm more of a moderate slow, because most of the stuff that I fish a spinning rod for, I want a little bit more moderate action, a little more forgiveness. So that's my take. 1,500 series, 2,000 series, 7-foot, medium heavy, 6'5", 6'2" to 1 in a bait caster, and then a medium, and then a moderate action on a spinning rod. What's yours?
Pretty simple. I like a 7-foot. The reason is a lot of beginners, they like to fish like spinners and that kind of stuff. So, and just lighter baits and not punching and not heavy Texas rigs. So I always recommend a 7-foot medium fast action rod with either a 6 to 1 or a 7 3 to 1 reel. Go ahead and jump right into the bait caster. But if you're dead set against fishing a bait caster, a medium action spinning rod will be just fine. About a 3,000.
Some guy named Scott Butcher said, "Can we get you in the Alumacraft with Gene this spring?" I think we can work that out. What do you think?
Yeah, you know how to fish from a boat.
I mean, I can do that. Get the Z-Bait crew down to fish. Yeah, we're actually doing that, Chris.
Yep.
I've got to hook back up with Hunter and the whole Z-Bait crew. Those guys are phenomenal. The baits are phenomenal. And anyway, Jerry Chappelle said, "How should one start competing as a rookie KBF angler? Do you join the main site or find a local league to participate?" You do both. You join KBF and you get into the challenge series, because it allows you an opportunity to get recognition for the fish you catch.
Yeah.
And then you join your local partner group.
Yeah, I always recommend the challenge series, because it's not a whole lot of money up front. And it gives you the opportunity to make all those mistakes without anybody knowing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then it gives you an opportunity to get credit for your catches, and who knows, you qualify, and it's a low barrier to entry, it's a low cost, and you get to measure yourself against people in your state, against people in your lake, and that whole thing. So it works out. I recommend doing both. In fact, go back and watch the video we just released on Christy's advice for rookies, and we've got one coming out later this week about getting started in tournaments. And I did one 2 weeks ago about getting started in tournaments. So search the videos tab and look back through some of my older videos, and you'll see a lot of advice on that. Shane Y said, "How much hole clearance is needed for side imaging? I fish from a Bonafide SS127 with a Garmin Echo Map 93 SV."
How much?
Yeah, an inch, maybe.
Yeah,
And honestly, like on my Lowrance, when I do side imaging, even up in the dry pod, as long as it's below it. I mean, I've never even really had big clearance. I've had it just as long as the transducer is just below it.
Let me put it this way. My Lowrance transducer does not rub the ground when I'm dragging my kayak.
So it's in the hole.
Yeah.
And so really you've got a cone angle from the middle of that of about 20 degrees coming out of your side scan transducer. So I think as long as the bottom of it is clear of the hole, you're going to get, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Do y'all prefer an anchor wizard for river fishing on the front or the back?
Front.
I like it on the front. I like to eddy out around and fish up and fish into current. I like to pull up and drop my anchor wizard while I'm slowing my drift down, and then put my power pole down, and I double dip. And I use a 3-foot power pole when I'm in the river, and that 1-2 punch is phenomenal. But you can get away with doing just the anchor wizard depending on the type and size of anchor. I'm a big fan of the tight line anchors now. That thing holds really good. It grabs onto rocks. And one of the cool things about using the anchor wizard is I'll take the weight, put it in a sock, and fill it up with sand, and I get that grip on the rocks as well. And that's a cool little trick. I probably should do a video on that as well. So Shane said, an inch below the pontoons or an inch below the center of the kayak where the transducer is? The center of the kayak where the transducer is. You've got enough clearance for the way that the cone goes out to clear the sides of the kayak.
Yeah, I know what the measurement is for a Bonafide, but that's about it.
No, that's what he's asking about. The 127.
2 1/4 inches. You want to have a spacer between your dry pod.
Yeah, actually, I think that's what he's asking.
2 1/4 inches.
2 1/4 inches from the bottom, and that depends on if you use the bracket that they include, or if you connect it directly to something modified.
Yeah.
Overall, you need 2 1/4
4
inches from the bottom of the dry pod, depending on how you modify it.
Yeah.
If you use the bracket, it's about 1 1/4 inches, so you're going to need a spacer in there. You use wood, didn't you?
Yeah, but I have a plastic one that I just haven't mounted yet. But literally, the space between the top of your transducer and the dry pod is 2 1/4.
I guess we just need to do a video on that.
I did.
So go over to Gene's channel and check out his video on it. I'll tell you what I do. I actually use the starboard from a black pack lid.
Yeah.
And then I use a coping saw and I trace it out and then I just cut it and I stack them in there until I get the right amount of clearance. Yeah. So anyway, Jason DeMott said, late to the party, so apologies if you've covered it. Will ambassador memberships count towards the 10% for partners? Yes. Ambassador memberships count towards the partnership. So glad you asked that. You'll need to be a full member to go to the national championship. You'll need to be a full member to go to the Trail Series championship, any championship, but the ambassador memberships count towards the slots and the participation incentives that the partners get. So great question, Jason, and I appreciate you asking that. What else? So look, here's the deal. This is one question that a lot of people have been asking me. Holy crap, I appreciate it that KBF had a guaranteed payout. Dude, you had a $6,500 guaranteed payout for a tournament that ended up having 147 people and a tournament that had 122. That's kind of crazy. What's the deal? So let me answer that. There's a lot of operational expenses from KBF that we cover through memberships, partnerships with sponsors, and through the tourism bureaus. For the most part, our tournament series, after PayPal fees, the judging cost, and the Tourney X fees, is not only 100%, but historically it's been over 100%. Let me explain that. And if you guys see this video and you hear people asking this question, tell them to go to this video and watch the end of it. And I'm going to redo it again on the members only section. We paid out 5 events last year where the first place alone was $10,000, and we had less than $10,000 in entry fees in 3 of the 5 events. We paid out $30,000 for just first place at the Trail Series Championship last year, and we paid out almost $70,000, 65 or 67,000 total. And I'll get these numbers right before I put it out officially in the Trail Series Championship. That comes from a holdback that we use from the trail to build the Trail Series Championship. There's companies out there that put out the 100%, and they show what they pay at the trails, and then they show what goes forward. And I just need to do a better job of showing that. But not only have we been 100% payout, we've been over 100% payout. It was a $100 entry fee to the Trail Series Championship last year, and there was 104 people, and we paid out $30,000 to first. You ain't got to take your shoes off to figure out the math on that one. 30 times 100 divided by 10, carry the 1. Honestly, 104 times, the $100 entry fee, and that's before the PayPal fee. That's before Tourney X. That's before our, judging cost. It's still well over, 300% payout for the Trail Series Championship just for first place, and that's not counting, the bonus bucks and the other stuff. So anyway, we're working on that. We had some great suggestions come in from this first trail. I think transparency is going to go a long ways to make people understand that. We're trying to build a series that has tiers. You start off, you fish the trails. It builds a regional championship. It builds a Trail Series championship. In fact, I love the fact that people can just take to social media, blasting us, asking these questions. We had some really well thought out emails. And one such email actually suggested that we change the Big Bass Brawl formula to where no matter what, every hour on the hour, the person that wins it, who's in the Big Bass Brawl, gets paid. I agree with that. So I've tasked my team to start putting that together. The reason we rolled it is to kind of make it sting if the person wins, who has the biggest bass, doesn't win it. But I think that I agree. The person that suggested that, we're going to do that. We're going to make it the payout every hour, and then the payout at the end of the event is a big deal. And again, those have historically been over 100%. We paid out $950 an event, and there's been events where we had 4 people at $25 enter it. So people have to take that into account when they start judging payouts and payout structures. Well, and so we also have paid out in the first 3 national championships. We had added money from sponsors, and we've started to do a holdback to cover our operational expenses. But to build the sport, to grow the sport, we've invested over $250,000 in payouts that were above the entries over the course of the life of KBF in the last 5 years when we're doing live events, and we're in our 10th year. So we've been growing this thing incrementally, but we have to start covering our operational costs through sponsorships, through the holdbacks that cover the administrative costs. Yep. But look, I actually got this suggestion, and I hadn't thought about it, and this is why we have such an open dialogue with our users. The question was, man, it's not really going to be fair when a tournament has this many people in it and all that money goes to the Trail Series Championship. But let's say, for example, we're out west and we contributed, but not as many people from the west are going to go. That is true. Consider also that when the participation wasn't that great in the west, that KBF was out there investing and putting tournaments on to help cultivate and grow that community. And so it works both ways. But this is what the suggestion came through as. Why not take a percentage and apply it to the regional championship? That's a good dang on suggestion. And so I'm going to have my team take a hard look at that tonight. I'm going to take a hard look at that, and we're going to figure out what that formula could be. But I do want you guys to keep in mind, we also are adding $500 from Torquedo for each event, and we're adding $500 from the regional sponsorship from each event for bonus bucks that isn't calculated in a lot of payouts. We're adding $1,700 minimum at every Trail Series event from bonus bucks. It costs $100 to buy in for the entire trail, and you've got an opportunity at $1,700 per event, plus the additional money from the Trail Series regional sponsorship, Jackson out west, New Canoe in Texas, Bonafide in the Central Division, the Southeast is Yak Attack, the Northeast is Dakota Lithium. So with that money being paid, that's added money. That's bonus money that is brought in that you pay $100 to be eligible for one time, $100 to be eligible for the bonus bucks at the Trail Series Championship, which is already guaranteed at $10,000, and that's going to go up from there. Man, if we track like we're tracking now, we very well could have a Trail Series Championship with a $50,000 payout. And one thing that we decided to change about the national championship and all of our championships is not to have this really big number at the top and a lot of disparity. So we're going to make the payouts a lot more even. So we're getting there. Next question. So I hope somebody in the U.S. mountain region can one day have some events if we grow enough. California is such a long ways to go. Yeah, Kate, I hear you. But everybody said that about California when we first started. Those guys organized. They worked together. They created their groups. Their groups organized.
They built that,
and they had show up.
Yeah.
They had turnout, and so we are working on that. How many KBF members are there total right now? I think there were a little over 1,000. If you scroll to the bottom of the homepage, there's a members number from last year and an active members number from this year that grows as we get updates and as we provide the updates. I think weekly. I'd love to see a video on us big guys looking to get your first kayak, 300 pounds with a belly to match. Every video that I've ever done on selecting a fishing kayak is for a guy either over 300 pounds, which I was, or still pretty damn close to 300 pounds, which I am. I'm setting at 269 right now. What do you weigh right now?
230.
230. So, yeah, we're all big guys and we're big dudes talking about boats. Most of the boats that we use are big enough for, guys up to 350 plus. You just have to look at whatever weight you're carrying trades off from the amount of extra weight that you can carry. If you're 400 pounds and the Bonafide's 475, you got a 75-pound cushion. If you're 300 pounds, you got a 175-pound cushion. So you just have to take that in effect. How am I liking my camper? Man, I'm loving it. I am considering putting it up for sale though and buying the smaller one. I got the bigger one because I thought Christy was going to go with me more. But to be honest with you, I'm really looking towards getting the Pursue, dropping down a little smaller so it's easier to load and unload kayaks off the top by myself. And it's basically a kayak trailer / hotel on wheels. Gene's over here shaking his head because he was at the Indy Sports Show, walked up, saw the Intech at the booth at Mount Comfort RV, and was like, dude, I have got to get one of these. Yep. It'll pay for itself just in hotel rooms. It'll pay for itself in being able to stay off the grid and, blah, blah, blah. And how many times have you wanted to go to sleep at the boat ramp and wake up and go fishing, and you could do that in the Pursuit?
I slept in a rest stop last night.
Yeah, exactly. And so having a bed on wheels that you can just roll back there, open the door, and hop in would be huge. So I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's not perfect. It's a little too tall for getting kayaks on and off easy, especially at boat ramps. So I'm looking at dropping down to the Pursuit. I'm also trying to twist their arm to make the one that's a little longer so that I can fit the kayaks inside it. So I'll keep you guys up to date on that. So what are you looking for when breaking down a map in the spring? Does east versus west side of the lake matter? Aha! Jump on it, Gene.
We did a seminar about this week.
I did 14 of them.
Yep. When your water temperatures get into the high 50s, the mid 50s to high 50s, start looking at those northwest pockets, shallow areas, anywhere that's protected from the north wind. and the west wind.
And it's the first place to receive the sun because
Yep.
the sun rises in the south-southeast, moving towards east, and it's not east till the middle of the summer.
Yep. And what I do is I start at those shallow spots and I fish my way out. And the reason I look at it that way, it's easier to catch somebody coming towards you than somebody running away from you. So if I start way out at the end of the creek and start looking that direction, it takes a lot longer to find the bass than when you start at the spawning flat and work your way out.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, recommend starting at the spawning flats just because it's a good point of reference and everybody can find them and it's easy, and working your way out. And I call that the STD concept. Shallow to deep, the STDs will help you catch more. So you always can remember catch an STD, boom, and you're in there. So, but once you start getting good at figuring that stuff out, then definitely the more effective way to do it is to know where the spawning grounds are or should be,
Yep.
and then work your way out.
Now,
Choke points,
Yep.
funnels, major sweeps and creek arms, the flats next to them. If you can find the last big bend in a creek arm and there's either some type of structural change or cover there, or if you can find a hump on a flat next to that, that's where they'll be.
yeah. And what I do is I find that bend, and it's usually the steepest bank in the back of the creek.
Because the
And-
water washes
yep.
it out.
And then I fish as the creek bend is coming into the bank. I fish that little point that's right there, and I fish the other one on the other side. The other thing we forget to talk about is as the spawn progresses, it goes further and further down the lake. So the northwest corner is the first place they're going to move up and spawn, but throughout the spawn, it's going to go down the lake, and then it's going to shallow pockets as the last
And you have to
place.
think about those lakes. We say lakes when we're generally talking about reservoirs because
Yeah.
that's more of our lakes. And so each of those creek arms can be thought of as a separate lake, right? And so as that water temperature is progressing its way down through seasonal progression,
Yeah.
then those fish are going to be moving into the pre-spawn pockets or staging areas, and then moving into the spawning pockets, and then up to the flats. And so if you fish the spawn by waiting until you see bedding activity, you're wrong. You're doing it wrong.
I'm catching big ones right
You
now.
want to catch the big ones as they're pre-spawn. Water temperatures in the mid 40s to the mid 50s is when those females first start to change. What's the number one factor that makes them start feeding other than water temperature?
feeding.
Yeah, they start feeding up for the spawn.
Oh,
What makes them start to move towards
Sun.
the spawning ground? Photo period, baby.
period.
When the days start to get longer, they start to move because not every year does the groundhog see its shadow or don't see its shadow. Winter lingers. But the first thing that makes them start thinking spawn and moving towards those spawning grounds
Yep.
is the photo period.
And they really need at least 12 and a half to 13 hours at the least of daylight to start spawning. But they will if the water temperature is about right, and it's about 12
Mhm.
hours. It's pretty cool. If you talk about the perfect storm, you have a full moon when the water temperature gets into the low 60s, and you have 13 hours of daylight. That's like the perfect storm that never happens.
Right. And then if you can have a warming trend on the new moon before that,
Yeah.
and everything is perfect, and you've got those staging areas near a shallow bank, and the wind is out of the south that's warm, and the sun is hitting that north bank, and you can get on that north bank on a new moon morning, that's the other perfect storm that almost never happens. But if that ever happens, take off work, tell your wife that you're missing whatever appointments y'all have scheduled, disappear from life and social media for 3 days,
Yep.
and be out there every day at daylight, the 2 days leading up to it and the morning of the new moon. If you've got a warming trend, water temperature above 55 degrees, soft south wind because the last northern's already blown through. Whoo,
Turn
the
on the
upper
love
part
music.
of the
Turn on
upper
the
part of
love
the water column has got a temperature inversion, meaning that warm water stacked up on top of that cold water because cold water is denser and it sinks to the bottom. And now you've got sunlight, you've got a new moon that didn't feed all night,
Mhm.
you got all that stuff aligning, and then on top of that, you hit your hydro wave one time. And I don't talk about this a lot. I'm gonna talk about it now for everybody that hung along long enough. Pull up on that bank and hit that hydro wave 2 or 3 times, and then shut it off, and then throw something out there that's got some scent on it, and you just basically ring the dinner bell, light the world on fire,
Yep. Turn on
cranked
the
everything up.
Berry White.
turn on the Berry White. You just basically set the tune. You just sprinkle some rose petals to the bedroom.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude. And they will blow a top water out of the water. I don't care what the water temperature is, as long as it's above about 52, 53, it's on like Donkey Kong. And you're probably measuring the water temperature out in the middle, casting to the bank, and they're up there in that shallow water. Yeah, that's when it's on.
Pretty.
All right. So can you fit a power pole micro with the new Torqeedo plate and will fit on the back? Not together. There is some modifications you have to do, and you have to do one side or the other, or wait for a bracket that's coming out from a guy named me. That'll be available very soon after that comes out. All right. Will we ever have a striped bass tournament? Yes. We've had striped bass tournaments in the past called striper shootouts. And once we nail down the catfish, once we nail down the redfish series, get everything smooth, we get all of our ducks in a row and we perfect what we're doing, then we're going to add in some more species down the road. Walleye, crappie, striper, all on the horizon. So stay tuned for that. All right. Adrian said, what a great answer. Thank you. Thank you all for the great questions. All right, guys, listen, we're going to finish up this tour here.
RS 117 question.
Okay. Is the RS 117 good for lakes and rivers? Picking up one for my wife Thursday. Yes, it is. It is by far one of the best kayaks I've ever been in. No, it's the best kayak I've ever been in for the price. It is phenomenal. It was
don't steal your wife's
exceptionally impressive compared to what I thought. I thought it was going to be one of those boats that I got into to do a video for a sponsor that says this is a great boat for the money. It's just a great boat. It's not just a great boat for the money. It's a great boat. It's big enough for big dudes. It's small enough to carry. It's a little bit lighter weight. And yeah. All right. So he said, I think Chad got fired up for talking about the new moon. LOL. Yeah, I did. I really wished it would have lined up this year. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have all this water, and that new moon is going to be blown out. The water's going to stay cold because we're bringing in all this cold water in the Tennessee River system from up north. And what's going to happen is we're going to have about a 2-week window where they pre-spawn, spawn, and then they're back out off of the humps, and or they're going to spawn in like 8 foot of water.
Yeah.
And only the people that really know how to fish the spawn are going to catch them, which is perfectly fine with me. If you look at guys catching those big fish on Chickamauga, a lot of that stuff was starting to happen before these cold rains came in and before all this craziness happened. And so, sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, I do think that I'm excited. We're excited. We hit Fellsmere just about perfect. They hit Fellsmere just about perfect this year. I was a little bit late. And then, of course, I felt like dog crap, so I wasn't able to focus as much as I wanted, cover as much water, stay out there as long as I should have. But Christy got out there, had a great time. So if you haven't seen his videos and Scott's videos from Fellsmere, go check it out.
Yeah, they're on their way out.
And
I haven't launched one yet. But
we're going to do some awesome stuff next year, getting together with fans and subscribers and friends and bringing in some other influencers to help us, educate you guys on how to catch fish better. He's all about teaching the world to fish. I love teaching. To be honest with you, I love teaching, but I just felt like a lot of that stuff was basic that people didn't want to know. And no offense, but Christy has really opened my eyes to that. This knucklehead has really opened my eyes to that. And so doing a lot more teaching videos. And I'm always a fan of when people come on and say, hey, I watched your video about this and I watched Gene's video about that. He said this and you said that. What's your thoughts? I'm like, my thoughts are you got 2 different perspectives on it from 2 anglers that really know what they're talking about.
Yeah, because we teach from our own experiences.
You get to teach
different experiences.
You get to take your pick of both or hybridize it and come up with the best possible.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing is we don't read a book and then teach it. We go and have our experiences and then we teach it. And
here's the thing you've got to be on the lookout for in content creation, especially these days. Yeah. There are a lot of information regurgitators. There are guys that go out and gobble up information from other sources and then present it as their own. And neither of us really do that. If I present somebody else's idea, I'm going to give credit for it. If I present somebody else's idea, I'm going to say, hey, I learned this from here. And I'm going to contribute to it, what I bring to the table. But for the most part, I'm not going out there and, gobbling up information from other people and then redigesting it to folks. If I do, I credit the source as best I can. Yep. In my seminars, if I know something from Dr. Keith Jones' book, Knowing Bass, I credit him. If I know something from, a Bassmaster magazine article, I credit them. If I read it in FLW Fishing, again, when I learn something from somebody else, I do the best I can to credit it. And then a lot of this, though, is like we've talked about in the videos, tow factor, time on the water, getting out there grinding, putting in the energy, effort, time to develop your own. So I have a hard time telling you to do something that I can't confirm. And so unless I've gone out there and confirmed it, I'm not the guy that's just going to say, go do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, and Gene does a better job of picking up on trends and going out there and trying it and then turning around and creating a video so that it jumps on the trend. And it also educates people about the differences between the trend and what's garbage and what's real. And I got to do a better job of that. And so what I say is just go watch his stuff because he stays on top of that. I am focusing a lot more on fishing this year. Christy is more than full-time now. She's over full-time. We've got a good staff at KBF now, and it allows me to go out there and work on better sponsorship opportunities, work on better, promotional opportunities, and at the same time, bring you guys better, more recent, more frequent, more consistent content. And we're trying to do a video a day as much as we can this year. This live video is going to constitute today's video. We got a video releasing tomorrow, and then I'll have one pretty much every day this week.
And I've got one tonight at 9 o'clock on 13 Fishing's Facebook page.
There you go. And then as always, tune into his Friday Night Live. KBF has come on as a sponsor for Friday Night Live. We're giving away a $25 gift certificate every time he does a Friday Night Live. And if you win that and you're a KBF member, we're going to double it to $50. So if you become a KBF competitive member and you get drawn on Gene's channel every night, you pretty much got your membership back, or you can go pick up some of this awesome new swag or whatever. Use it for whatever you want to. Big Bass Brawl entries, bonus bucks entries, whatever. So be sure to tune into his Friday Night Lives. There's some great content on there. I jump on there as much as I can. A lot of times I'm either on the road. Last time I was in the bed sick and didn't see it till the next day. Got the flu when I was late. Got the flu when I was up in and then I always forget about the time difference. So I think about it and then it's off a little bit, or I'm just focusing more on spending time with family this year and having the phone off, and then I catch it late. So anyway, if you got the time, go tune into his stuff. Go subscribe to his channel if you haven't done so yet. If you live under some type of rock, if you haven't done so yet and you're just watching this, subscribe to this channel. Turn on your notifications. And then who are some of the guys that we're really, partnering with this year? Greg Blanchard out of California. We're going to be doing some collabs with him. If you haven't done so yet, go subscribe to his channel. Robert Field, go subscribe to his channel. Alex Rudd Fishing.
And he's
Noah
doing a lot of the beginners because he's a beginner kayak.
Noah from Kicking Their Bass TV. And I was just joking. Noah could probably curl 40 pounds, maybe 45.
He can probably bench you.
So anyway, so, and I think he's still a fish fight thing to square up against him. So far, everybody's scared because he wears an extra small T-shirt and looks like he's swolled, and people are scared of him. Maybe extra medium. Anyway, Noah, jump in there and tell everybody that you're still looking for somebody to throw down with for this fish fight thing. Hopefully, it happens late summer, early fall, and then we'll go from here.
Yeah, we'll see.
It said Gene needs a mute control. What does that even mean? Do you know what that means?
Yeah, to shut you up so I can talk.
Oh, gotcha. Cool. Anyway,
I've been driving since yesterday. I got done with the seminar at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I got in the car and started driving. I had 3 hours of sleep at a rest stop, and I stopped off here to drop off some stuff, and I'm going to go home and
wash this truck to get all of that
wash my truck.
Salt and sludge and stuff that'll rot your undercarriage out if you've got a southern truck that isn't treated.
So that's all the talk you're going to get out of me right
anyway,
now.
So Gene, and I had to twist his arm to even jump on here and do this, but he's at the KBF headquarters.
Yep.
We needed to do some updates. So anyway, guys, that's 42 minutes, 43 minutes. We're going to call it. Love y'all. And Brad Oswald said, how's the family doing? Daughter's doing great. In fact, she is engaged and is going to get married this year. Got some exciting stuff to announce about that. Everything's going great with the family. The health is improving. I'm getting over the flu from going up to Indy and cold, hot, pothole, cold, hot, pothole. Anyway, so, I used to think that a pacer is somebody that leads the race for the Indy 500 or the horse that leads, one of their horse races. But what I found out a pacer is the person that sets the pace for dodging potholes and everybody else follows them. Because that state has got some rough roads. Anyway,
6-inch potholes.
Yeah, they do.
Deep.
They got some potholes that'll knock the steering wheel out your hand if you ain't careful. So when you see a Prius, dodge it. Even if you're driving a big truck, just follow suit and dodge it too. Because it don't matter how big your truck is. They got some like upside down potholes, meaning them jokers are bigger on the bottom than they are on the top. Like it's washed out underneath. So anyway, love y'all. We'll see you next time.
Later.
And go subscribe to this guy's channel and go over there and comment on his videos. And
hey, I got a full head of hair in the
love y'all. We'll see you next time.